Jimmy Carter was yes.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. It's 8:15.
Did you know about that?
I did.
And roll call, Comiskey.
Present.
Kunkel.
Here.
Reiner.
Here.
Sager.
Here.
Scout.
Present.
Scott Bergen.
Here.
And I'm here. Kurt. Present McCollum.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Scout, motion. Second, Comiskey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. We have Bianca. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I'm here with the RTA. I've come a few times, giving just a quick update from our department, which is the Mobility Management Department. As you all know, the RTA has now begun attending county meetings to present our regional operating budget and capital program. We are actually going to be hosting a virtual public hearing on this on December 7th, Thursday, December 7th at 6 p.m. If you'd like to provide public comment, you can sign up, and I'll send Scott an email with the links that I'm mentioning right now, so I'll share the link for that. In case you didn't know, the RTA has a Transit is the Answer Coalition. They meet in person. The next meeting will be Tuesday, December 5th. At this networking breakfast, we will brief attendees on the 2024 regional transit budget and legislative agenda. If you'd like to attend, registration is required, and I'll share that link as well. The Access to Transit program is open for call for projects. It's open October 16th through December 15th. And if you'd like to submit a request for projects, I'll share the link for that as well. And the last update I have, we've been sharing this for some ongoing time now, but we're looking for 3 community representatives to serve on our eligibility review board. That board is set up to hear different, so if someone tries to apply for ADA paired transit and they're not found to be eligible, they have a right to appeal that. So we're looking for community members to sit on this board and hear those appeals. You don't have to be a person with a disability, although people with disabilities are encouraged to apply, but we are looking for people that work with older adults, people with disabilities to serve on this board. So we extended this application now to December 15th. So if you'd like to serve or you know anyone that would be a great representative, I will share the way to apply with Scott via email. And that's it from my part.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further public comments, move down to member comments. I'd like to start off with giving a shout out to Scott Hennings for a job well done and applying for that grant for the Randall Road and bringing in $20 million to the county for that. So,
Thanks,
you,
Jim.
Scott.
I'd say he's pulling his weight now.
Brian.
I would just like to, on behalf and in concert with our colleague Carolyn, to ask us to consider, not today because it's not on today's agenda, but in the next meeting, changes to speed limits as have been previously requested by the member from Lakewood Road, Lakewood Road from Algonquin to Ackman Road, reducing it from 45 to 40, and Pyatt Road from Willow Street to Oak Street, reducing from 50 to 45. And I know that that has already been studied. We have some information on that. I think maybe Scott even has some information to hand out today. But again, it's not on today's agenda, so it would be inappropriate. But I would just like to request that we would, by consensus, be willing to put that on next.
Okay. Anybody else? Mike?
So if we have that agenda item on next time, should we have somebody from Lake and Hills present?
Would that be Lake and Hills or Lakewood? Is that, wouldn't you say Lakewood Road? Off of Act?
I've got to look at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, yep.
Both of these roads are within Lake and Hills.
Yeah.
It probably would be a good idea, Peter.
It seemed like last time there was a little disconnect between what the village was asking and, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but it might be at least fair to let them know that we're going to be discussing it.
Right, agreed. I'll make you.
Mike?
So I didn't want to pull off routine consent agenda, but on item number 5.2, the bridge and the cost increase associated with that. So more of a general discussion slash question. So because in there it said something about some river was blocked or gonna be worked on or something like that
Yeah.
you're pointing.
Daryl was saying.
And that was the thought of the reason why it went up, but
It's one of the different aspects. Army Corps is gonna be closing certain sections of the river which limits cement and certain aggregates coming up into here, increasing the cost of concrete. So contractors have to modify their prices to account for that risk. We've also heard from contractors that last year when they saw high inflation, they were locked in with bids from the previous year, and they're trying to, in a way, get caught up from the losses that they've had before, and just trying to stay balanced, and they're unsure of other risks.
Wait a minute a second here. Wait a second. Let's pull that off the consent agenda, because there should be more discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna pull it anyway.
Pull that
so-
off the consent agenda.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda after pulling 5.2 off?
I'll move.
Scala moves, Sager seconds. Any other discussion? Okay. Kunkel,
Yes.
Reiner,
Yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Scala,
Yes.
Bergen,
Yes.
Kaminsky.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, now, we have a motion for 5.2.
I'll move that.
Mr. Scala moves and Bergen seconds. Okay, now let's have this discussion.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to specifically this, I was kind of doing more general, but we can have a specific and then I'll do more general, that's fine.
Okay. Good.
Specifically for me, I don't like the fact that they're already telling us that they're gouging us to recoup monies from the past. That seems a bit BS. But specifically for me, what I'd like to know is, I believe we're trying to recapture 80% of this $1.5 million from the state, is that not, or from the federal, federal, correct? So would it be possible and even more appropriate for us to be looking at the 300,000 for an ask here from the board instead of $1.5 million?
We could do that, but at this point, we don't have the federal money actually dedicated to the project yet.
But it would incentivize us, of course, not that you guys need that, but it would incentivize us to really work hard on that portion of it. And if, God forbid, we don't get that whole ask, we can come back to the board then and get the balance of what we don't get from the federal end. Is that not correct?
Those steps are possible. However, in the IDOT world, from advertising and letting and awarding a project, there's 45-day window from the date of the bids being opened up until the contract has to be awarded to that contractor. Otherwise, they can walk. They were the lowest bid out of 5 different bidders, ranging up to, I want to say, 11.3 million or something like that.
And what is our cost associated with going back then through the bid process?
Well-
That's more egregious.
No, there's really no cost for us. However, the fact that we likely won't get a lower price. They'll see everybody else's prices. So they know that I'm not the lowest, I can go up even higher. Most of the time what happens on a rebid, unless we change aspects of the project, the second time you go out for bid, the prices go up. Because they see where everybody else is. Somebody will come down, these will come up, and we end up spending more money. So when we get into these situations, the way we looked at this particular resolution was, since we don't have the federal money allocated, there's good signs that we have some, but they haven't given it to us. We have a 45-day window to tell IDOT that we accept this bid or reject it. And given in this pricing, we felt like, the condition of this bridge, that we should move forward with awarding the project as is. It will likely cost us more if we rebid. And we do have good feelings that that number might come in closer to the $300,000. And if it isn't used, it's not used. But IDOT can't guarantee us the federal money.
Okay.
And just know, we are gonna try like hell to get that federal money. It's not like we're just sitting on our hands. We're actively working with IDOT.
No,
to
I
secure
get that, I understand it completely.
Yeah, and it's up to them. It's not
This is
us
just a
asking
big
them.
miss at $1.5 million, it's a big miss, and it's a big ask, of course, so.
It is, and we've taken unit prices for this contract going back through April, May, June, and increased them by 10 to 15%.
And part of it is appropriate that here comes from you that the rebidding process is, or potentially could cost us more. So that's available to the general public and not just to you and us to have that
Correct.
knowledge. Thank you.
So just to ask a question about this Illinois River, closing that's the drought, low levels, or is it because of the locks and dams?
Our understanding is that it was locks and dam work, and they get as much as they can through, but at some point they do have to restrict flow.
So that's not an ongoing thing, so in another year prices could get lower, or how long is that supposed to?
Or at least stabilize. You know, these contractors, when they give us prices to do work in 6 to 12 months or 18 months, they have to take in X amount of percentage risk, stuff that's outside of their control. And with the tollway doing a lot of work, IDOT's Rebuild Illinois work going out on, that's soaking up a lot of concrete, a lot of hot mix, a lot of contractor work. They'll roll the dice.
All right, any other questions?
So can I do a larger scope?
Go right ahead.
So I'm just trying to understand if this is what we're seeing now, what are we doing for our 5-year capital plan in order to, I don't say compensate, but allow for this type of fluctuation in pricing? Because naturally, this means that we can't do something else. So, or we can't do, we have to figure that out. So I'm just trying to understand, when you start to see this type of stuff, internally, what do we do to try and figure out projects with dollars and matching that up?
Yeah, so we have 2 tools. Scott is great at this. We have our budget side annually for projects, and then we have our 5-year program. These cost increases that we've seen came in after we did the 5-year program. So next summer, when we start to do the next 5-year program, these cost increases will be captured and adjusted to show what we can and can't do in that 5-year window. On the budget side, that's where we're a bit more dynamic. When we start to see these prices, we react with Randall Road. We react with our other bridge projects that are coming down the pipeline this year. Our flashing yellow arrow project that's going to go out to bid here in a few months. We react more nimbly with those by trying to account for extra money, and then things that we thought were gonna get done this year don't get done.
Question?
That's it? All right. Okay, any no further questions, we'll go to vote. Let's start with Reiner.
Yes.
Sager.
Yes.
Scala.
Yes.
Van Bergen.
Yes.
Miskey.
Yes.
Gunkel.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Ordinances. 6.1. Mr. Scala, we don't talk about this.
Sure, what would you like me to talk about?
Do you have any that you don't want to do or like? or-
The state line road one, I agree with that one. I think that one should happen, so I actually don't have a problem. See, I'm gonna vote for a speeding increase, or decreasing.
Okay, I'm impressed with that. It's a state line road. Okay. Anybody else have any, just Matt?
On the Hickory Nut, speaking with Township, it is an understood road that people are speeding on, but it's also understood that this is basically an enforcement problem, not a roadside problem. And I think we all kind of know that you can keep changing those numbers, the enforcement's the deal. I went ahead and made a cursory phone call to the commander of the traffic division for McHenry County. They are acutely aware of all of these roads and or the problem with them. They have and they do step up patrols with them now. But of course, limited manpower, stuff that they're doing what they can do. I don't know that that road sign change makes any difference actually, other than hopefully the fines will get more costly and people will start obeying it a little closer.
Anybody else?
That's a heavy populated stretch there too.
I believe it warranted on this road.
Yeah.
And not my belief. My belief comes from speaking to township authority. In this way, in this instance, the highway supervisor or the road supervisor. I believe it's warranted here, and we've already been told by McHenry County, they're doing what they have the length and breadth to do for us.
Right.
So this is the next obvious means or options of enforcement at this point for us.
What, did you just say Hickory Nut Grove Road is heavily populated?
No, that stretch is from Rawson Bridge to Tuxedo Lane. It's a pretty heavy populated area there, isn't it?
No, it's middle of nowhere.
No, nowhere.
Yeah, it's conservation
Is that
district
middle
out
of nowhere?
south.
There's homes on one side and then it's conservation. And
So-
then it's into Hickory.
But it's become a drag race lane is what it's
Yeah.
become.
That's
That's
It's
it.
a direct-
So it's the enforcement
So-
of the people that just race on it.
Correct.
So to talk nuts and bolts, the speed limit there is 45 currently. Prevailing speed in the study was 48, 3 miles over.
That's an average, yeah, but yes, obviously
Yeah,
we all know that.
and so adjusted prevailing speed 41, proposed down to 40. Are we gonna slow anything down when we do that? To your example?
Well, certainly not. The only thing it does is increase fines, and over time, the increased fines will have them looking for another place to drag race. That's what'll happen with that.
I think it's the next logical step in terms of trying to control these speeds of exactly what Matt is talking about.
Okay.
We'll just have, there's certain corridors, we all know this, that becomes drag race corridors, and I think there are opportunities for us to take appropriate steps to try to mitigate that. It doesn't happen overnight, and is everybody going to all of a sudden say, oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna start, following the speed limit? No, but at least it's a closer effort to bring people to a more reasonable and safe rate.
So overall, I'm seeing on Hickory Nut, is there anybody opposed to that one? Okay, Mike is one.
I'm kind of opposed to it too now. Actually. I mean, every road is 45, it seems like, unless it's, right?
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna split these out on us here, because Mike actually agrees with the second one, which I was.
Blown away by that.
And, okay, let's talk about Lincoln Road. Or does anybody else have anything on state line? Let's talk about Lincoln then. Speed limit 45, prevailing speed 50, 41 and 40. For adjusted is 41, they propose to drop it to 40. Let's talk about that. Anybody opposed to it?
Is that Lincoln?
Yeah,
Lincoln Road.
around that corner where they're talking, we get kind of nasty weather if you're not paying attention. If you're clocking over 45, yeah, you're gonna start seeing that guy's front yard.
Okay.
Like Mike, I'm just generally opposed to lowering speed limits just through traffic means. I don't know this road, I have no dog in this fight. But I would, on par, would be opposed to lowering it.
45's not bad, but going on Lincoln, you're clocking over 45 coming into that turn, but leaving it at 45, I'm content with it too.
I believe that we need to change that one, and it's because of the curve that is there. I mean, I think that is appropriate.
But there hasn't been all that many accidents at that curve compared to other high areas in the county.
We have those accident studies on that. Does that one show a lot of accidents?
We do
The
have,
accident portion is actually incorporated in the entire percent reduction. There was a reduction due to crashes through that curve. I think it was like probably 5% of the 20%.
Okay.
There were quite a few accidents on that when I looked at that and I did the study.
All right, so I'm gonna split these out and we'll just take each one individually. I'm gonna ask you yea or nay on them, and then we'll move forward if they pass. Okay? Is that in agreement with everybody? Okay. So the Hickory Nut Grove, Matt?
I would like to have the 40-mile-an-hour the 5-mile-an-hour reduction.
Okay. Tracy?
No.
Mike?
No.
Yes.
John?
No.
Carl?
Concur with, Matt.
No? Okay, so we will move that
Oh,
one.
wait, Matt was a yes.
You were yes. Okay. Now we're a tie, okay. No. So, that one won't go forward. State line. I'll start with the Scala.
Yes.
Okay, Tracy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes on that one also. Lincoln Road. Carl?
I don't see a need to change it, really.
Okay. John?
No.
Yes.
Brian, yes. Matt?
No.
Mike?
No.
Tracy?
No.
Okay, that one doesn't move forward either. So why don't we move forward to the board will be State Line Road.
I don't have to pull it.
All right, so thank you for that input on that one.
The official motion to forward that.
Yeah, that's Mr. Sager and those three to modify State Line Road.
And
Second.
would you like to waive the 30-day review as well? I know this is an issue that always comes up with these. It's this committee's prerogative to.
Mike, you're always on that.
I don't feel like it's no, so no,
Doesn't
I do.
you?
Huh?
You don't want to wait 30 days?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Brian moves to put State Line Road forward with the 30-day review.
I'll second.
Mike seconds it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So let's move forward. No staff recognition today, no awards today. Approval for the county engineer to sign a letter of intent for Prairie Trail wayfinding signage plan.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve.
yeah, and we don't necessarily.
I need a second on that. Matt Kunkel seconds that. Okay, go ahead.
It's not necessarily something we need to take a vote on. It's just, I know Joe likes to bring stuff like this to the committee for your sort of concurrence before he signs anything like this. We were approached by the Conservation District years ago, and they've been talking about this for many years, how they'd like to do a wayfinding signage plan for their trails. And they want to start with the Prairie Trail, because that's really the hub that everything builds off of. How we got involved was our McHenry County Connections bicycle plan recommended a second plan after that to focus on wayfinding signage. And so it was a large recommendation in our county bike plan. On top of that, we've got relationships with the grant that we're looking to apply for. It's an IDOT grant that the district wants to go after. We've been successful applying for that grant in the past many times. And so I think the Conservation District, again, is looking at, if we were to be a partner on this project, we'd have a greater likelihood of success at getting the grant money, which is, again, it's a state grant, 80/20. So the letter of intent that's in your packet, it's just draft right now. This came together very quickly because the grant deadline, I think, is in March of '24, and our meeting schedule is kind of up in the air early next year. So what the LOI is saying is that the county will be a partner on the project, will help submit the grant application, and will fund, if we're successful, we'll fund 50% of the local match. So up to $30,000 would be sort of our share of the project. The Conservation District would fund the other half of the local match, and we would just be a partner on the project from start to finish. So that's really what this LOI is saying. If the committee is comfortable, Joe can sign this, and then we can move forward with the grant application sometime in January or February next year.
So Mike's got a question on that?
So, would we be making the signs in-house?
Potentially. So this plan would just be that. It would be a plan. It would basically lay out what the signs are going to look like, where the signs would go, what signs are needed. There'd be a public involvement component. What do people want to see? Because a lot of what the district is facing right now, they've got requests from municipalities up and down the Prairie Trail wanting their own signs on the Prairie Trail. And the district wants to maintain uniformity, consistency throughout the entire corridor. And so again, I think this plan would sort of set the stage for the construction of the signs, which could be done in-house, or they could go out and contract that out. We haven't kind of gotten to that point yet. This first step is really just that. It's a first step to get the plan in place.
Well, I'm just thinking that if we do get the grant, we move forward, you know, our quote-unquote 30,000, 50% portion could theoretically, if we're doing that in-house, could theoretically be saving our side the
Cost of materials and labor, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we could talk about, and I think we'd be willing to assist with that. We were lucky enough to have an in-house sign shop, and we do this for other agencies when they request it. So, again, I don't want to. We're about 2 or 3 years away from that, but I think this is really the first step in the process.
But if we don't put any verbiage in it, will this get lost? That's a real good point, Mike.
Yeah, we could add something like that to this LOI before Joe signs it. I mean, that's not an issue on my end.
I'd be okay with
It's
it.
dollars or in kind,
Yeah.
meeting the match, right?
I think when it comes to grants, IDOT's going to want to see if there's multiple partners should have both skin in the game for the grant application, right? So I think it does help our prospects if we come in with 30,000 and the district comes in with 30,000. What we decide to do on the construction end, actually fabricating these signs, we can either address that here or just address it in a future IGA with the districts down the line. It's kind of just personal preference at that point.
Two quick questions. One, how did you arrive at 30,000? And if the grant, we don't get the grant, does this just go away?
I think if we don't get the grant, we in the district will have to sit down and say, okay, how much does 60,000 get us as far as a plan, which isn't much. I mean, that would be sort of, what we would do is
So we're
we
still
would.
gonna wanna be pursuing this? Or
I
we just
think if we didn't get the
be
grant.
grateful that we didn't spend the 30K and put that towards something that
Yeah.
needs to be fixed?
I can't speak for the district, but I think if we didn't get this grant,
Us, I mean.
we would want to probably just try again next year. It would be something that we would learn what we did wrong and we would reapply next year and hopefully get the grant next year.
And how did you get the 30,000?
Typically when you see projects like this, of this scale, the $200,000 to $300,000 range is typically what these projects will cost. And so we backed out of that number down to the 20% match, which was split 50-50. So that's kind of, our share might be less than 30. We just won't know until we actually go out for RFQ and we get a consultant selected.
Okay. There's no further questions. Just everybody's okay with this, or anybody opposed to this?
Well, I think the conversation was if we make a note that this doesn't
Had
get
the
lost.
extra verbiage to this.
So if it takes us 3 years and then, we decided.
Because potentially we're giving 30 and the labor and the materials and the signage for this, so potentially we're giving 50 or 60 or 70 on our end. So I think there has to be a little bit of an asterisk in there somewhere that says it can be dollars or in kind.
Or in kind, yeah. Just so there's something to.
And if it does fail with that little
trigger
asterisk,
something,
then we can come back for a re-ask the following year and know that we gotta streamline it to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
You okay with that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can work with the district on that language. That
This
shouldn't be
way
an issue.
You're still saying that we'll do 30,000 or
Yeah.
in kind by sign making.
Yeah.
All right, so you got
Makes
your
sense.
directive there? Thank you.
Yes, with a caveat, that's what we have.
You wanna take you have a motion.
Yeah, you have a
second.
motion.
You
You want to vote on it? All right, all those in favor?
wanna?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, executive session.
Staff report.
Did I miss staff report? Okay, staff report.
So, two things coming out of the design section, just to make the committee here aware, we are working, actively working on two requests for qualifications for engineering contracts. One is our on-call drainage. That review is underway. We also have 3 intersections in the county. We're lumping together as to one engineering study for safety improvements, and that request for qualifications is also under review here. Should be bringing contracts forward for your review Q1 of next year.
3 intersections are those.
So we have Spring Grove and Miller. And we have, let's see, Alden O'Brien up here, and then down south, Maple and Coral. Down by Point
All the
What was the
intersections.
last one, sorry?
Maple and Coral.
Mr. Kearns, can I ask?
Yes?
With Spring Grove, Miller, are you talking Johnsburg Road and Miller?
No,
Spring Grove Road.
Spring Grove Road.
Oh,
Yeah. Spring Grove.
West.
Spring Grove Road is the
Spring
county
Grove
road.
Road
Yeah,
up
yeah.
south.
Yeah.
and Miller,
And Miller Road is a township road, but that's the east-west.
yeah.
And those 3 intersections weren't just pulled out of thin air. Those are 3 of our worst
Yeah,
intersections.
well, you've got Richardson and Stotty's
Yeah.
where we constantly have
Yeah.
little bang-ups.
We're trying to prioritize those intersections that need the most work quickly.
Mike?
You mentioned something about the flashing yellow project.
We have one on Virginia Road.
Okay, so can I only ask a favor that we make sure that before we put up temporary lights, that we're able to acquire all the electronic stuff, so that we don't have temporary lights up for,
The 10 traffic signals
Yes.
up for a long period of time.
yeah.
We are working on that. The industry is what it is. Unless we went out for bid for just things like the big poles, mast arms, that were ahead of the project, like we did with Johnsburg Bridge, where we went out for bid ahead for the beams and then did the install. Mast arms are taking 6 to 9 months to get because of the steel.
Well,
And some of the electronic components, our traffic engineer, Brady's waiting 3 to 6 months to get certain other types of electronics to the traffic signal. Well, it is bizarre on the delays getting these equipment.
well, and I get that, appreciate that. I guess just my comment is they throw up temporary lights, take the old ones out, and then it sits there for in some
6 months.
cases, a lot longer than 6 months, and then they finally erect the other stuff. So it's like, you know, I get it, you award it, but can't we wait 6 months until that stuff comes in? Because I mean, you know, they can take it down, they can pour the footings for the new ones, you know, cement cures in 2 weeks, and then dump it up. That's my only
Yeah.
point. It's
Yeah.
like,
We're with our contractors. We also had on Algonquin electrical issue with ComEd.
Correct.
And we made some revisions on the walk-up project, walk-up road flashing yellow project to help move past that. Keeping on the heels of ComEd, engaging ComEd where we did with Algonquin, we just kept the pressure on for walk-up roads, so they're there to do the same for any of these meter changes that we have for Virginia Road also.
it's just.
So that part will help speed things up. But I like your idea, we'll talk it through with the team and see if there's some merit with the contract.
One more thing under staff report. Jim, thank you for mentioning the $20 million Randall grant. We're excited about that. I just wanted to bring the committee up to speed on the rest of the project and the funding opportunities for that. So the $20 million is the largest grant we've received so far, but we have in total about $37.9 million in federal funding for this project. It's a $59 million construction project, so we're not quite at 80% federally funded, but we're getting closer every day. But we still could use another $9 million in federal funding. So we're continuing to actively look for potentially state funding, federal funding. I've been talking with state and federal legislators about securing an additional $9 million. So again, every dollar we get in federal funds allows us to redirect our county dollars towards other projects like the ones Daryl just mentioned, the safety projects, the bridges, and things like that. So we're excited. The project is going to be on the, well, we're trying for the January letting. It could be the March letting of next year. And we'll update the committee if we hear more along the way. So that's all I wanted to mention.
I was going to ask on that project, I must ask it in public. Does that have an underpass on that north end also, down there by like the movie theaters and Costco? That doesn't have one, does it?
It does not. So we did approach the city of Crystal Lake about a potential underpass, overpass, kind of near the Fen. And the city of Crystal Lake ultimately decided they didn't want to move forward with that and cover the cost share that was be required for that. However, we're building the project to accommodate a future overpass in the future, right? As a separate project coming in after the fact, potentially near the Fen or even down south of Miller, kind of over by the Woods Creek Park over in that area. So we're not precluding that in the future if the villages want to join us on that.
That'd be nice on that end if we could get one.
It would. Anytime we can take pedestrians off of street level
Right.
from crossing at Miller, and I used to live in that area. A lot of people cross at Miller Road, and that just slows traffic down. It's a safety issue. Yeah, so we're trying to think outside the box. Overpasses are expensive, right? And we probably need a federal grant to help fund that, but it worked in the southern part of the project. Algonquin was a great partner on that project. I'm hoping Lake in the Hills and Crystal Lake could also partner on a future one up in that area.
We talked yesterday at Law and Government Committee about the development of next year's legislative program, and Alicia specifically mentioned this $9 million. We didn't talk about the overpasses, but trying to close the gap on this remaining $9 million. You know, Chairman Bueller at this point is tentatively making out plans to visit Washington, D.C. in our delegation probably the second week of February, so we'll have this on his calling card and trying to shake a few more dollars loose, so thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Anything else, Scott?
I don't think so. The planning team will be at the People in Need Forum. I know it's going to be before we meet next, so we're going to be at that talking about MC Ride, giving people resources to connect them with transportation. So if anybody attends that event, we'll be there kind of, talking with folks there. So that's it on our end.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else with anything before we have a motion to go into executive session for minute approval meeting of minute approval? Okay.
Is that it?
That's all we've got to go in, and we can push it off to January if you'd like.
I hate going in just for minutes. Making minutes to
All right.
approve.
Okay,
It
so,
doesn't take that long, does it?
No, but it's pointless to go into.
You guys will
approve
take
minutes.
longer to argue about
okay. Tell you what, let's just put it off till January, so that way we don't have to clear the room. So go to adjourn. Next meeting will be January 3rd, 8:15, here in the Transportation Department.
Are you pretty confident that you'll have that? The meeting? Yeah, the January meeting.
I'm gonna leave that up to staff.
Okay.
If they have a lot of stuff, or if they have that, so, but that, I just, announced what it's supposed to be. Oh, you're gonna be out of time.
I am. That's fine.
Okay. All right,
Road speed study.
say that.
I'll probably be out
All right, everybody else, you guys show up January 3rd.
Where's your sense of community?
All right,
Zoom in, I could eat.
anyway, okay. So, that's it, do I have a motion for adjournment?
All motion.
Mr. Kaminsky, seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.